Hey everyone, welcome back to Gamecasters, and today I'm going to be doing a little bit of D3. Um, this is going to be a Greater Rift video. I've been running Wizard this season, this is the season of Greed, if I remember correctly. Yeah, but it's, I know the special thing of this season is Treasure Goblins spawn double. So each time you find one, there's a second one, always, whenever you find one. Even if you go into the vault, I think there's a chance it still spawns an extra one. I'm running the Energy Twister build on Xbox One because it still is still the top build for Wizard. So currently, with the build I'm running and the gear I have at the moment, the most recent Rift I did was a Tier 70 one. Which puts me at about 1500 on the leaderboard. Yeah, 1560 on the leaderboard. And it still feels like I have room to move up and in the rifts. So I'm gonna push for a 72, which is the highest I've ran in a group. So I'm gonna test out and see if I can run a 72 solo. And I'm gonna show you how to run this build. Basically, you're gonna activate your energy shield and the magic weapon, drop those slow times, and then just hit the groups of enemies. You're going to do it on as big of groups as you can, and the build definitely requires you to have like most of the gear to actually start pushing up in tiers, because before this, I think the highest rift I could hit was like a 50 before I got the last two pieces of gear I had, but once I got those two pieces, the cap for me just went way up. Like I said, I haven't even hit my cap yet, so I'm still pushing up with the gear I have. The only problem I've had so far with rifting, with my current stats on my gear, is when I come across the really widespread rifts where the enemies aren't like clustered up, because the whole point of the build is to group them up and then kill mass amounts of them. So that's the way I need to go. I need to go over here. Go up and kill you. Move forward. And at first it's a little slow, but eventually you'll notice that once you start getting gems leveled up and your gear better statted, you'll be able to really start pushing. The gems are definitely an essential, because I've been leveling up my Bane of the Trapped, which is one of the gems that this build runs.
You dare attack me?
There's also Taiguk and the other one's called. Hang on. Stone of Vengeance is the 3 gems that you run on this build. And I'll run you guys through the build and its gear after this rift. I just want to show you what this build is capable of doing and how it runs. Which, as you can tell so far, it's like really good at clearing. I forget which one it is. I think Taiguk, one of the gems that you run gives you increased damage against elite packs and increased damage after killing an elite pack. So you hunt an elite pack, you kill it, and then you kill as many whites as you possibly can afterwards, which will give you the extra boost you need to clear the rift faster. Alright, looks like I need to head back up. Using teleport gives you increased damage resistance after teleporting. Also gives you the ability to move away from your enemies, because the further you are away from your enemies that are getting hit by your energy twisters, the more damage that they do. As you can tell, I'm getting like 71 billion on a couple of these hits the further I'm away. But when I'm closer, I'm doing about 13 billion. I think it goes up for every 10 meters I am away from the enemy. Which is honestly not that hard to do. You basically just fire and forget with the twisters most of the time. And then Bane of the Trap gives you the extra edge you need when you're dropping slow time, which gives you a movement impairing effect on your enemies. One of the other gems, I think it is Bane of the Traps that gives you the effect. When you get to level 25, the gem gives you a movement impairing effect to enemies that are within 15 meters of yourself, which is super useful because you're getting a lot of damage off of movement impairing effects. So getting that gem maxed out, well, not maxed out, but up to 25 as fast as possible is really, really one of your first focuses for the build. Goldies again. But yeah, the build really can push. I think the highest person on the leaderboard right now running this build is up there at Rift 122, if I'm remembering correctly. I know it's in the 120s, and this is still early season, so if you can get better gear, this build can definitely push. I think this is the farthest pushing build on the leaderboard at the moment as well, so it's crazy how some of it's built. And I think the only primal ancients that the people have on there is, I think there's 3 that they have. So if you were able to, I mean, it's granted it's a long grind if you're going for all primals, but if you could get a full set of primals, then this build, I'm gonna guess, could probably push 130, if not more, depending on how you build it and augment it.
You dare attack me? I don't have enough arcane power.
So yeah, I'm pushing about 6 minutes on a T70, which is not bad, for given the fact I don't really have like a lot of ancients on this build yet. I haven't even gotten a primal yet, so that'll definitely push the build further. Good. There. This is another part where it kind of slogs down for the build, is when you get to the Rift Guardian, because you're better built for taking on groups of enemies rather than a single target, but it still gets the job done. So yeah, this is the one I was talking about, Bane of the Trap, which I'm pushing up to 25 right now. You gain an aura that reduces the movement speed of enemies within 15 yards by 30%. So you basically walk around and drop your slow time, and then you hit them with your twisters. The more twisters you have out, the more damage you do because of one of your cubed items, the Twisted Sword. Energy Twister damage is increased by 150% for each energy twister you have out, up to a maximum of 5. Channel and Mantling while you're channeling Whirlwind, Rapid Fire, Strafe, Tempest Rush, Fire Bats, Arcane Torrent, Disintegrate, Ray of Frost. You deal 25% increased damage and take 25% less. And if you're running Hail of Curini, you take 80% less damage for 5 seconds after your Storm Armor electrocutes an enemy. So you're always going to want to have that active. And the Mantle of Channeling, you deal 25% increased damage if you're running your Arcane Torrent, which I believe is, yeah, your trigger ability. Which, I mean, you can have the ability set to whatever button you like, but that's usually how I have it set up. My twisters are on A, teleports on X, magic weapons on Y, energy or storm armor is on RB, because I can hit RB and Y right after another as soon as I enter in the rift, get those fired off as quick as possible. I usually will teleport forward to immediately hit the first group of whites I can, drop a slow time, fire off some energy twisters, and just keep... the way the build runs is when you fire off your slow time, and then you hit energy twister, about 3 times, and that cools down slow time, and you just keep dropping slow time. So the more you have out in the field, the more you're doing, which also impairs your enemy's movement. So
I need to go back.
okay. So now that I've ran the rift, I'm gonna salvage any junk I have, repair my equipment, cane, go in here. Alright, so I've not gotten any better gear from that run, which is fine, because I don't really I mean, graders do give you a better chance of getting ancients, which is what you'll do when you're starting to hunt for ancients. It's just, right now I'm focused on seeing how far I can push at the moment.
That is too expensive.
And then I'll know what I need to push on my gear and get soon. Alright, so gear-wise, you're going to be running either Death Wish or the Twisted Sword, depending on whichever you get better of. I'm running Death Wish because I got an Ancient on the weapon, so I'm running that as my primary, and I'm running the Twisted Sword as my cubed item. Now, if I were to get a primal of the Twisted Sword, then I would cube the Death Wish and then run the Twisted Sword. As long as you have one or the other equipped to your character and the other in the cube, it really doesn't matter which one you have equipped. The top person on the leaderboard has the Death Wish equipped as the weapon, and then the other top 9 players have the Twisted Sword as their weapon, and then the Death Wish cubed. So either way, it doesn't matter. You'll still push with either or. You're also running the Magnum Opus set, which you can get from your set journey on the seasonal quests. So you get the full set just by doing that. I've managed to get a Ancient of the helmet, though, since then, so that actually has really pushed me forward. You're also running Traveler's Pledge with the Compass Rose, Convention of Elements, Etch Sigil, and Ransler's Folly. Your belt is Hergbrash's Binding, which reduces the arcane power cost of your Torrent, Disintegrator Ray of Frost, which you're running Arcane Torrent, not Ray of Frost or anything else. So basically you're focusing on resource cost reduction and energy twister damage alongside a little bit of cooldown reduction, which I've mostly put my cooldown reduction into my Paragon, because you don't really need a whole lot of that, because if you have resource cost reduction, you're getting your cooldown for your slow time off of your twisters. So the more twisters you can drop, the faster your slow time cools down, and it just bounces off of each other. So cooldown reduction is not a necessity for the build. It'll give you the little bit of extra edge, so you don't have to use as many twisters, but at the same time, the more resource cost reduction you have, the more often you're just going to be able to fire off the twister. So either way works. Let's see. I'm also, as a potion, it doesn't really matter, but I'm running a Bombless Potion of the Leech, which gives you life per hit, which I feel is a little bit helpful with this build, considering you're going to be hitting a lot of enemies, and that gives you a lot of healing whenever you pop your potion. But right now, I just broke a 72 Greater Rift, which now puts me up at 1459 on the leaderboard. Go back in here real quick. Yeah, so see, this is what I was talking about. The top player has a primal Ancient of the Death Wish, and that's their weapon. So they have the Twisted Sword cubed the same way I do. I don't have a primal, but I have an Ancient of it. And then they're also running a primal Convention of Elements, a primal Etch Sigil, and I think, yeah, that's it. those are the 3 primals they have. They don't have any ancients of the other gear. So this is why I was talking about, oh wait, no, they have a ancient legendary belt. Is this a... Okay, wait, yeah, they have ancients, never mind, my bad. But no, they're, right now, this person is the top person on the leaderboard, and they only have 3 primals. If you could get a full set, or even just more than that, this build could push so much further. Right now, the top person has a 122 Greater Rift push. So it could definitely push. That's for damn sure. But yeah, I think that's about it for this build. I just wanted to run you guys through the gear and show you what it's capable of doing. I'll probably do another video when I get better gear, but I'm not going to worry about showing you guys the whole like grind for all that, because nobody wants to see the grind. So when I get better gear, I'll probably do another video on this just to show you what it's capable of doing when you get up to the higher tiers of rifting, and I'll show you how to like run it when you're in a higher tier rift. But for right now, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys next time on Gamecasters.